There's a reason I'd possibly... blah, blah, blah. That's it, me, myself, and I. He's singing a song. So, I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Again, we don't have any proof that there was anything in it for him. Nothing in it for you? Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. My truly what? That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you better think again. You're right. And you don't feel sorry for anybody. Be tough on crime and tough on people, that's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something else in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone else out? Yes. He would have. He'd have helped Lana Skye to get something out of it. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the Chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is the person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Well, I mean, we know Lana has already admitted to forging the evidence. She said she changed the crime scene so that her sister would be safe. But she left out the fact that Chief Gant helped her do it. Or maybe even it was his idea to do it. She abided because he held the leverage over her of her sister potentially going to jail because of Neil Marshall's death. So, we already know Lana Skye forged the evidence. She's the only other person it could have been. Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant? I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Ema Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who wouldn't want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? As for the Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed Chief Prosecutor at the Prosecutor's Office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all of this? He would be able to use the Chief Prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Judge, I'm going to need you to get serious now. Thank you. Oh, wait. Thank you. You mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding? Never mind. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as Chief Prosecutor so you could control her. Righto, my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? Do you have any proof of this? That I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana, she's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? I forgot what we're doing here again? Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The Chief Prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial, almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you'd better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Just what do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? Annie? Order! Order! I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? Does this look like a joking face to you? Excuse me. This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. to accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder, that is impossible. It was almost impossible for him to say that word. Your Honour, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in an easier to understand language. But you try and put this on me, he says. It's too late, Mr. Wright. That's right, I'm going to cop for it. There's no turning back for us now. Looks like he's the one who decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in a murder? Question. We don't have any proof that links him to it, that's the problem. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man who happens to look like the devil. The question is, if he's a criminal, I believe the evidence will tell. I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. Show us the evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. Oh boy. Oh, we didn't actually present the thingy list, did we? The ID card report. We didn't present that yet with his name on. The last time we saw this in court, the 7777777 was still unknown to us until we went to Chief Gant's office and used that on a hunch on his safe to see if it opened the lock, and it did. So we know he was the one who was in there that morning, and that Bruce Goodman was murdered in there. This has all been proven, kind of. But his name isn't on there yet. But it's the only thing that connects him, because the bloody handprint either had gloves or had been wiped. We know that the security tape now showing the supposed assault on Goodman with Officer Meekins was actually the other Marshall, Jake Marshall. Not going to be in any of the SL9, we're not talking about that anymore. But nothing to do with SL9 is what we're going to need. But if we forget about all the SL9 evidence, it's going to have to be the ID card record. Let's just double check everything. None of this really... Let's go with the ID card record. Yeah, you tried the ID card record? Well, I'm going to try it as well. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 77s. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It is your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open, a 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean... I'm afraid so, Your Honour. The code was 7777777, the same thing as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant? It's the first time we've seen him lose his cool. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defence's search of my office was in violation of regulations, and I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. Edgeworth, you turncoat bastard. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit it. You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. What about it? I'm Chief of Police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Sure you do. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he? I hadn't seen him in days. Aha, aha, aha. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant. I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. Wait, are we talking about the bathroom now? Shy, hello! Wow, what a note to come in on. You'd be like, what the hell have I walked into? Hello, sweetheart. Good morning. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? The trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. Yeah. If Chief Gant met with the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing: what transpired during that meeting. In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime. He lost the ID card because Jake Marshall took it and he was filling out a lost item report, which was going to be for his actual card. It's not written there, but the fact that he doesn't remember the number shows that we didn't have his card on him to look it up. So this has got to be it, and it's got the date on it, so we're good. We're going to go with this. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime, or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you were in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out from the SL9 case. Oh. Gant's no is very freaky. Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him. There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on, let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait. The Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Oh, damn it, Judge. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would still be on his body. It would have been found on his body. Yes. Oh god! What the hell was that? He literally summoned demons from hell. That was like something out of Dragon Ball Z. Chief Gant, you didn't. The murderer was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit a murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. Yes, I see what you mean now. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. It was in your trunk, though. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so do you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office? I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. Screwdriver. To move the victim's body, the chief used this. Okay, actually. Please tell me it's that. I can't imagine how it would be, but anyway. I mean, he used the car, but I think he used the screwdriver in the evidence room to break open Edgeworth's car trunk, because Lana did tell us that the lock was broken on the trunk, so she was able to get in. He broke the lock with the screwdriver. And then he gave it to Edgeworth to be like, go back to the prosecutor's office as a decoy to force him to go back there, because he was going to go home. And he needed the body to go there so Lana could do something about it and get rid of the body for him. But it must be the screwdriver. Nothing else kind of fits for this. Because I said earlier, is this ever going to be relevant? This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ah! I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbing, I brought this back here. That's why. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office, but you did because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean I... The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what's happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car? Yes. Unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you ask Mr. Edgeworth to transport the evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Ms. Lana Skye. Order! Order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defence's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Ms. Starr took at the prosecutor's office. With the lunchbox that apparently had a camera built into it, which is weird. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk, but being taken away. This is what I was saying before, because of how the body was angled out of the trunk. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe... Your time is up. My time's up. Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with District Attorney General this afternoon. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons. Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to just run away after all of this? Run away? Do we have concrete proof? I mean, other than the fact that the knife from the SL9 murder case was found in the car as well, wrapped in a scarf in the muffler. That's the knife that she took out. It wouldn't be wrapped in Lana Skye's scarf, since she wasn't there. You couldn't have put it in there, in the car park at the police station. She had to do it afterwards, which means that was the knife in the body. And it could have only come from the evidence locker. That's it, can't really not testify if you're already on the stand. Well, this game does play real fast and loose with real-world laws. It's got its own systems. Because, I mean, you can't just have a right to not testify. You know, you're like, nope, I won't. Because, yeah, you have a right to remain silent under police questioning and tell them nothing. But once you're on trial, in a court, you don't talk, you are held in contempt of court. But this game isn't the real world, so... whatever. Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman, that's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have to present it by now. Well, You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current police chief. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright? Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of the body? I mean, obviously we have to, otherwise it's game over. You're wearing 2 earphones, one for the game and one for the stream? Cool. Multitasking. I can't just let him squirm his way out of this. I've got to keep the pressure on. Yes, Your Honor, I do have such evidence. And please hurry up and present it. Just remember, it better prove Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman beyond the shadow of a doubt. I mean, we know the shoe. Well, we can prove the murder happened in the evidence room with the shoe and the floor plan. That links them together. But that doesn't prove that the chief did it, so it can't be the shoe. It must be the knife. Because it was found at the crime scene wrapped in the defendant's muffler and the small tag was still attached, and it's from the SL9 case. So he grabbed it out of the locker and stabbed him. It's a pretty reasonable assertion. It's like, why would it then be all the way over at the prosecutor's office, stuffed into the exhaust pipe of Edgeworth's car, wrapped in Lana Skye's scarf, when Lana Skye wasn't even over at the police department? So she couldn't have done it then. It couldn't have really been pushed in there, you know, and then Edgeworth drove back because the exhaust gases would have pushed it back out, probably. You know, while he's driving half an hour through town. Could very well have fallen out or been blown out. So that had to be taken out of the body once it arrived. Therefore, this is the proof. I'm feeling a bit dizzy because of hearing 2 musics. Yeah, you probably shouldn't do that. Fingerprint set. We don't have any fingerprints. Scene of the stabbing. That has nothing to do with him specifically. And that's all SL9 related, so it's going to be the knife. I'm just going to go with the knife. Knife tip wasn't found in the body? No, okay, so this knife is from the serial killings 2 years ago, which apparently, originally this was supposed to be the serial killer's knife. In fact, it probably still was, because the guy was the serial killer, they just didn't have enough proof, and they brought him in for questioning. So when he got away from them and like ran off, like he bust out of the room that they were questioning him in, he still had his knife with him. And then the prosecutor chased after him and ended up catching up to him in Chief Gant and Lana Skye's office, where Emma Skye was already waiting, and during the blackout she lunged to push whoever she thought had a knife, but she thought that it was the serial killer about to stab the prosecutor. Everybody said the prosecutor was stabbed in the back, and this knife was found stuck in his back, with the blade tip broken off inside the prosecutor. So that's an old case from 2 years ago that is linked to this somehow. So that tip is broken off, and it was inside the prosecutor's body. So yeah, that's the tip missing has nothing to do with the current murder. So it was already broken. This was now evidence. The broken knife was evidence. I think we had the tip elsewhere. I don't think we actually have it in our evidence list, but we did get shown the tip. But we also know that that's not what was really used to stab the guy. What was used to stab the guy was the statue of the knight, because he fell backwards onto it. As for Bruce Goodman, he was definitely stabbed in the chest. He was found stabbed in the chest. We don't have a picture of it, do we? No. And we've got a witness who said she saw him being stabbed by this knife, which was Edgeworth's knife out of the trunk of his car. But what was really happening was she switched the knives, so when she saw the stabbing, she saw her putting a knife back into the wound. So it would have been in the evidence lockup, exactly, yeah, when he went there with Goodman, it would have been in the evidence lockup, this knife. Goodman would have opened it, and for whatever reason they were having a disagreement where the chief decided to stab him. And, you know, that We don't know why yet, what his motive was. We've still got to prove a motive, but yeah. And yeah, the Chief and Goodman were the only ones to have access, and we know that Goodman and the Chief did go to the evidence locker together. We've already proven that it couldn't possibly be any other way, because he's on the access list, and Goodman, his card had been stolen by another detective, who was later going to break in and try to steal all this evidence anyway, for his own reasons. Anyway, we're going to go with the knife. So, what exactly is this evidence? It's proof as to whether or not it's enough to demonstrate the Chief's guilt. I'll let you be the judge. But I am the judge. Oh, right. Well, what do you think, Your Honor? No. What I think, Mr. Wright, is I'm going to be late for lunch. Damn. It wasn't the knife, then. Okay, Your Honor, give me a little longer to consider. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current Chief of Police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without proof, blah 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 blah. Do we have concrete proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Ms. Skye dispose of the body? What could it be, I wonder? I mean, we know that Goodman's card returned to the crime scene at the prosecutor's office by Jake Marshall. King of Prosecutor trophy shouldn't have anything to do with this. That's all now been dealt with the SL9 incident, because we know that there used to be a broken knife as part of the trophy that had been removed by prosecutor Neil Marshall. And that's what Ema saw, and she thought it was the broken knife that was found in his back, but the tip was already in there. That's how we proved that it wasn't the real murder weapon. The answer is not what you expect. It's looking like it's going to be something way out there. It might be Edgeworth's knife. I don't know, in a weird kind of way. The only place it would be is in the trunk of Edgeworth's car, right? So how would we twist that around to say that Gant definitely did it? Kinda don't. That still only proves that Lana Skye stabbed him with that knife. The autopsy report does say an hour and a half from 4 PM. Really enough. Lana's cell phone call, the word muffler was overheard during the call made with Ema at 5:18. So a few minutes after she stabbed her, she tried to make a call to Ema and tell her about the muffler. Maybe she was trying to tell Ema to go recover the knife. Gant be the last guy to be with Goodman before he died. Yeah, that's what we have to prove, though. We've proved that they went to the evidence locker together. But I don't know if that's the proof to show that he killed him. Because we've now moved past that. That would have been the end of it there and then if it was. Let me ask you why the question, do I have concrete proof, pops again. Would the evidence card show he was the last person to be with him? It does, but again, it doesn't prove he killed him. That's what we have to do. No idea. The only thing I think could have pointed to it was the knife, because we've proven they were there together, and we know that this knife was at the prosecutor's office crime scene. Links the two crime scenes together, and the possibility that they were the only two people in the room has already been proven. Therefore, that knife was there. So the only person who could have stabbed him was Chief. That to me makes sense, but apparently the game says no.